Hello viewer, welcome to this edition of Power Wheel, a production of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN. World Bank reveals plan for upgrading of Nigeria's power distribution. IMF team visits TCN, commends milestones on raising bulk power transmission. Experts brainstorm on eligible customer policy and other power sector issues at Confab. On the interview segment in this edition, the Assistant Regional Transmission Manager, Abuja Sub-Region of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, Engineer Mahmood Suleiman, speaks on the 96 megawatts bulk power capacity available at Cobra Transmission Substation in Abuja and how Abuja Disco feeds its customers from the facility. We hope to make your view exciting as you stay with us through this edition. I am Chinwenwa Anyao. The World Bank has revealed ongoing plans to upgrade the distribution section of Nigeria's power sector value chain. This will enable the distribution companies to have increased network capacity to take more bulk power from the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, and supply more electricity to customers nationwide.
The leader of World Bank delegates, Natia Kulichenko, said they were at TCN to be more informed about its operation, which will guide them in the scoping work that they were doing for the discos.
From the World Bank side, we also recognize that the weakest link in the entire sector chain is right now distribution, both financially and technically. So what is the purpose of our meeting? We will ask you. We are in the process of design and scope in a project which we call Nigeria Distribution Sector Recovery Program. And we wanted to present what we think, how it should be designed, what achievements it's targeted to get during the implementation, and just seek your feedback, kind of thoughts, advice, how to make it better work.
In a presentation, she said the World Bank was doing much to address the power sector problems in Nigeria through various components.
In the next slide, you can see what the World Bank and how we trying to address the power sector problem in Nigeria. Basically, it's a kind of a set of several components. We call it a jigsaw puzzle. It should be a very reliable policy and regulatory environment, sustainable fiscal support in the current situation from the government, because as you know, there is a big gap between cost-reflective tariffs in reality and cost-reflective tariffs which NERC right now sets in the current multi-year order. We also see that operational efficiency of the distribution sector, and especially their level of AT and CNC losses, are not sustainable, which is around 40% and maybe even 45%. It should be below 15%, according to the international practices. And we also see the need for infrastructure investment, which is not also in discos, but as what you're doing in the transmission sector. In essence, the sector has over capacity, installed capacity, and the only point why this capacity cannot be transmitted is the bottlenecks, mainly in distribution and partially in transmission.
While welcoming the World Bank officials, the Managing Director and CEO of TCN, Mr. UG Mohammed, said TCN focused on installing modern communication tools, especially the supervisory control and data acquisition, SCADA, EMS, telecom.
Under the World Bank, we have a component for the SCADA, but we felt that we should launch the procurement of the building as well as we are launching the procurement of the SCADA. So we have finished the design for the National Control Building. And we have not stopped at that, sir. We have decided that we are partnering with PGM of America. We are building 2 national control centers at the same time. That is, there's no like backup. There will be 2 national control centers in separate places for the purpose of security.
Mr. Mohammed also told the delegation that efforts were ongoing by the TCN management to actualize the SCADA.
We've decided also to train our people on communication. We started with the first communication that we did. We did a training in Akwanga. We teach them on spicing and all those ones. They taught them. Some of them confessed that this is the first time they do this kind of training. Yesterday we met with Hawaii. We are also structuring another training to train them on communication also. So that is how we are moving. So we believe that the way we are going this time around, we will have functional SCADA. The procurement of SCADA, we have launched the procurement of the consultancy for the SCADA, and we have also uploaded the SCADA component on the World Bank for their review.
He noted that the reforms being implemented at TCN was part of the 20-year least cost transmission expansion plan to ensure that the bulk power wheeling capacity of the company rises to 20,000 megawatts by 2020. Mohammed said the commitment of TCN management and members of staff were yielding results in the attainment of critical milestones.
As at October, and you can see it in this document, sir, we have installed 68 power transformers across Nigeria. From February to date, we have installed 68 power transformers across Nigeria. And we have recovered several lines that were not working. For example, the double circuit line, one of the double circuit line from Jabba to Kaenji, we recovered that line, was out for over 5 years. One of the line from Onitsha to Benin had no bay, Asaba to Benin, we recovered that line. From the line that we commissioned from Jakarta to Abuja, only one circuit was commissioned in 2015. We brought the second line. That's how we're able to do this using our own staff.
He said TCN also approached donor agencies to fund certain investment in transmission line and substation projects. As
of today, we have reasonably completed the NEGI project, which was funded by the World Bank, which is about $300 million. And we have structured another project, which is called, under the term, we have raised $1.661 billion in investment in transmission. And this includes the $486 million from the World Bank, which is targeting existing substations and lines. And we are working to put N-1 on the existing substation, most of the existing substation and lines. Then we have the $170 million of Abuja wheeling scheme, which is putting 5 new substations in Abuja.
Mr. Mohammed, who is also the chairman, executive board of the West African Power Pool, WAP, said utility firms in ECOWAS member states have been directed to do their procurement competitively, especially for the power sector, to ensure that only the best firms handle projects. He said this will help to solve the problems in the power sector.
The recently concluded Future Energy Nigeria Conference and Expo in Lagos presented a platform for seasoned experts to brainstorm on the eligible electricity customer policy and other power sector issues towards improving the sector's operations.
Among the experts were the market operator MO, Engineer Edmond Eje of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, and the Managing Director, Niger Delta Power Holding Company, NDPHC, Barrister Shedi Ugbo. Contributing to the panel discussion, Engineer Eje explained the impact of the eligible customer policy when it is fully utilized by GENCOs in supplying power directly to willing customers through the transmission network.
It is not all negative for the DISCOs. First, if a DISCO contracts eligible customer that feeds on a 33 kV feeder it has invested on, the DISCO is entitled to distribution use of system agreement and charge. That is a plus for the DISCO. Now, from 2015, every investment made backwards before 2015 is considered to DISCOs. From 2015 upwards, if an eligible customer to invest The regulation requires that you go into an agreement with the DISCO and you tell them the route you want to take. Of course, your route survey, everything that concerns that line is done by you. And what you will pay the DISCO is royalty, because the DISCO wouldn't invest on that.
He also noted that if companies key into the policy, it could boost their access to constant power, which was good for the economy.
40-50% of any steel company's input is power, and that tells you that they require incentive. And when you give them this incentive and they produce maximally, they would employ a lot of Nigerians. When these Nigerians are employed, they will be able to pay their electricity bill, isn't it? That's the way it goes.
The Managing Director, Niger Delta Power Holding Company, NDPHC, Barrister Chedu Ugbo, on his part acknowledged that there was a tariff shortfall in the electricity market, which ought to be addressed by the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NEC, to strengthen the distribution companies' DISCO's performance. He, however, urged the DISCOs to work on their revenue collection to resolve their market shortfalls.
There is still some level of, I don't know what you call it for want of a better word, lack of discipline in terms of remitting even what the market is able to pay. That's the market shortfall on the part of DISCOs. If the DISCOs have been very forthcoming in remitting what the market pays, everybody, just like Lulu, like you said, this chain is as strong as its weakest link. Everybody will get together and say, this is the problem, resolve this tariff problem. But even if you resolve the tariff problem, the government resolves the tariff problem now. We still have the market shortfall to deal with. We don't even know what is going to happen.
Speaking on the growing capacity of the generation companies, GENCOs, the Executive Secretary of the Association of Power Generation Companies, APGC, Dr. Joy Ogaji, advocated for the implementation of eligible customer policy that will enable GENCOs to supply their excess power directly to willing electricity users, separate from what the DISCOs can take from the GENCOs.
I checked at the distribution company's performance improvement plan starting from 2020 to 2024. Do you know where they will be by 2024? They say by 2024, all things being equal, they can take up to 6,000 megawatts. Right now, see where I am. As at 2019, I'm nearly 8,000. And you're telling me in 2024, you will take up to 6,000. My dear, don't you see the need for this panel? Why eligible customers should be and should stay?
Dr. Mahmoud Suleiman, a representative of Kaduna Electric, one of the 11 DISCOs, also expressed his views during the panel session.
As a concerned Nigeria, that this power industry needs to work, not just now, but in the long term. This issue of eligible customer is a very serious issue for the DISCOs. One, because a lot of the customers that are paying for the service are supporting the entire industry. And if we go ahead not to compensate for customers that they've taken out, then in the long term it's going to have huge effect on the market.
Let's take a break for a message. Please don't go away.
In the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, we transmit bulk electricity from power generating companies, GENCOs, to distribution load centers of various distribution companies, DISCOs. Nationwide, we do not generate electricity, neither do we distribute same directly to electricity consumers. TCN has two business units: the Transmission Service Provider, TSP, and Independent System Operations, ISO. The ISO comprises of System Operation, SO, and Market Operation, MO. The business units all perform specialized functions under the TCN umbrella. Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, willing power for national economic growth. This message is brought to you by the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN.
A team of experts from the International Monetary Fund, IMF, has met with the management of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, to share views about the milestones and plans the company was implementing to raise capacity of bulk power electricity transmission in the Nigerian power sector.
Leader of the team and mission chief of the International Monetary Fund, IMF for Nigeria, Amine Marti, said his team was at the TCN corporate headquarters in Abuja to engage TCN management on the power sector issues and how the investment in TCN was fitting within the entire sector performance.
I know there's discussions ongoing, including at the presidency and others with Ministry of Finance, coordinating with different agencies. So just wanted to know where is the progress, where you stand there, and has the issues of the past.
The managing director and CEO of TCN, Mr. UG Mohammed, who received the IMF delegation, informed them that TCN has attained significant milestone in being ahead in the Nigerian power sector. He also presented documents of the Transmission Rehabilitation and Expansion Program, TREP, and the milestone attainments of TCN to the IMF team.
On the basis of the 20-year least cost estimation plan, we did the Transmission Rehabilitation and Expansion Program, which has 4-point strategy. And this is the strategy in front of you. This one, this is our strategy. It's 4 years out of the 20 year that we came up with. This strategy has 4 point. This plan has 4-point strategy, which is the frequency control, the spinning reserve, and installation of functional SCADA, and critical investment in line and substation. Every of this topic is included in this, and the methodology of what we are using to implement it is here. Now, if you look at the second book that I gave you, the second book is the milestone. What have we achieved as at October this year? What have we achieved? This is what we have achieved as at October this year.
Mr. Mohammed outlined the achievement of TCN in line with company's expansion drive.
On the frequency control, we have been able to achieve the fact that all our generators now are on free governor. This was not the case when we came in newly. I'm sure when we came, the generators that are on free governor, they are not more than 10%. Now they are 100%. On the frequency, on the spinning reserve, we have done competitive procurement of spinning reserve since December last year and forwarded to NAC. We are able to procure only 260 megawatt of spinning reserve.
He noted that although TCN is heavily investing in bulk power delivery capacity, unless the distribution companies discos are recapitalized and empowered to take more bulk power in their networks, the efforts of improving transmission may not yield much. Mr. Marti, who is also the senior resident representative at the Abuja office of IMF, commended TCN for its expansion plans and the milestones.
The Cobra Transmission Substation in Abuja had its capacity recently upgraded and has been positioned to deliver more bulk electricity for onward supply to end users by the Abuja Electricity Distribution Company, AEDC. In this interview, the Assistant Regional Transmission Manager, Abuja Sub-Region of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, Engineer Mahmoud Suleiman, tells us more about this. This Cobra transmission substation was recently repositioned for more bulk power delivery. What are the details?
You are welcome to transmission substation in Cobra. As you can see by yourself, you are in the station right now. After the incident of losing one of our 60 MVA transformer here in Cobra last year, and with the commitment and zeal of the management, the present management, we are able to repair one of the transformer that was at Karu substation, and that transformer was repaired by our in-house engineers and deployed to Cobra Substation in May this year. So we are able to successfully bring back the transformer and install it in-house. It was commissioned, we commissioned that transformer, the second transformer, as you can see, the one behind me. We commissioned it on the 8th of May.
What is the level of power evacuation from the substation by AEDC?
They always have a technique of load rejection, which we have been fighting with them, honestly, which to a certain extent they are not pleased with our approach, and we have no option than to do that, to tell the public.
You mentioned that a transformer was installed at the substation. How long did it take the engineers to do that?
This transformer was, as I've told you earlier, we had the one that was damaged here. We could not work on it. We had a damaged one in Cobra Substation, which was replaced. So our in-house engineers, led by the Assistant General Manager, Transformer and Reactor in headquarters, with the combined team of Abuja Transmission Sub-Region, Departments of PCM, Electrical and Lines, were the people that worked and bring back the transformer in-house.
What was the capacity of substation earlier?
Right from the beginning, this substation is 2 by 60 MVA transformer, which means 120 MVA, equivalent to 96 megawatts. So when we lost one of the transformer, our capacity dropped that time to 48 megawatts. So now with the replacement of the same capacity, we are back to 96 megawatts. And unfortunately, you will discover that AEDC hardly take 50% of the available capacity, which we have now for them, and we keep on sending messages to them. Whenever we notice that there's drop in load, we call them and we put them on their toes that we have available capacity, as against what they have been telling the public that we don't have.
That was our interview session with the Assistant Regional Transmission Manager, Abuja Sub-Region, Engineer Mahmoud Suleiman, on the Cobra Transmission Substation in Abuja, where 96 megawatts of bulk electricity capacity is readily available to be wheeled to AEDC for onward supply to their customers. Join us next edition for interviews about developments in the power sector. We're bringing you more reports in the Power Flash segment. Please don't go away. We appreciate you for sticking with us on this program. Join us next week on the same station for a refreshing edition of Power Wheel. As always, this episode and the previous ones are available on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to connect with us on these other platforms showing on your screen. I am Chinwenwa Anyanwu. Goodbye for now.